science knowledge and knowledge of the All of Us research program. So we're going to be streaming live on YouTube. Wow, this is a big group of people from all over. We have some international friends. We have people all over the United States. Great, great, great. So I'm going to spotlight our ASL interpreter video. Um, so first and foremost, just thank you for being here. Thank you to all our partners. I'm going to go ahead and get our slides geared up. And I'm going to share my screen. So for those who don't know me, I know a few of you. I recognize some awesome familiar names, which is always great. My name's Caroline Nickerson, and I'm with the SciStarter team. And we're just so grateful for our partners in libraries and CBOs, especially with NNLM and the All of Us research program. So at this point in the presentation, I'm going to pass the mic to my colleague Emily from NNLM Northwest Pacific region, Pacific Northwest region, mixing up my words today. But Emily's going to get us introduced to this concept and thank all of our partners. So Emily, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Caroline. Welcome everyone to today's event. My name is Emily Hamstra and I'm the Outreach Coordinator for the Network of the National Library of Medicine, Pacific Northwest region, and I'm one of the co-hosts for today's webinar. This webinar is the third in the Citizen Science and Library series. The fourth and final webinar is coming up in December. Today's webinar, Create Your Own Air Quality Sensor with Conario, is brought to you by the Network of the National Library of Medicine, the All of Us Research Program, SciStarter, and next slide, please, Caroline. All of Us California, and next slide, please. Cost for Cloud. Cost for Cloud is the European Horizon 2020 project to boost citizen science technologies. Specifically, the project is developing 10 technological services to increase the quantity and quality of observations and the participants' experience. Cost for Cloud is the creator of Conario, the star of today's event. Conario is a citizen science project to measure air quality using low-cost sensors, cell phones or Wi-Fi, and low-cost technology and open source code. The project builds a citizen network, an air quality map that will allow us to know what we're breathing and how we can improve air and our quality of life. The data collected allows us to independently validate official air quality numbers because what can be measured can be improved. Next slide, please. So welcome all to this exciting event. And next slide, please. So a little bit about today's session. Today's talk is going to be structured into two different parts. Part one, or the first hour of this webinar, is for anyone interested in hearing about the Citizen Science Project, Conario, and asking questions. Part two, or the last 30 minutes of the webinar, is designed for librarians, educators, and community organizers, and will provide tips for engaging your community in citizen science projects. Everyone's welcome to stay for both parts of this webinar, and we're going to give a clear cue when we're transitioning from part one to part two, just in case you can't stick around for part two. Also note that this event will be offered again today at 4 p.m. Eastern Time in Spanish. And before we dive into the presentation, I have just a few more announcements for you. So next slide, please, Caroline. Today's webinar is being recorded and the recording will be posted to YouTube. We're also live streaming to YouTube. Closed captioning and ASL interpretation are available for this session. The co-hosts will be monitoring the chat throughout the session. Please share any questions or comments in the chat box and share those with all participants. Questions will be collected and addressed during our Q&A period. If you're a librarian and you're interested in obtaining Medical Library Association continuing education credit for attending this session, you'll complete the evaluation provided at the very end of the webinar or the end of part two, and we'll provide more information about that later in the session. And now I'm going to hand things over to Caroline Nickerson from SciStarter.
Great. Thank you so much, Emily. And I'm seeing some really exciting things going on in the chat. We have someone here from Athens, Greece. We have people here from Bordentown, New Jersey, USA. A few people here from Greece. This is so cool. But yeah, if as you come on in, introduce yourself in the chat, say where you're calling in from. It makes me excited. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, you can also introduce yourself in the YouTube comments. That would be great as well. But we would also really like you to put your zip codes in the chat. It helps us keep track of who we're reaching. So please, please, please put those zip codes in there. I'm seeing so many come on in. That is awesome. And another thing to keep in mind for like the general comments when you have questions and whatnot, we might read those out and they might become part of the recording. So just something to keep in mind, that things that you type in the chat that aren't your zip code, things that are like, I have a question about Carnario, that'll become part of the recording. So I'm going to get started with some polls. So let's go to our next slide. So we want to know, have you ever participated in a citizen science project before? There are no wrong answers here. If you're not sure, let us know. If you have, awesome, let us know. Maybe tell us which one in the chat. If you haven't, you're in the right place, because we're going to tell you everything you need to know to start participating in Conario and to learn what citizen science is. So all answers are good answers here. All right, we're getting quite a few yeses, quite a few nos, and a few unsures. That's really exciting that people haven't done it before. I'm really glad that you chose to be here and to learn with us. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll here. I'm going to give you one more second to vote. Get that vote in, and we'll end the poll. And we'll share those results. So as you can see, it's about an even split between the yeses, the nos, and the unsures. So we'll stop sharing those results there. Let's do our next poll. So we want to know a little bit about you. Who are you? Are you an aspiring citizen scientist? Are you a parent of an aspiring citizen scientist? Are you a teacher, an educator, a troop leader, etc.? Are you a librarian or part of a library staff? Are you a researcher or a project leader? Are you just a bored person on the internet? Or are you none of these? That's okay too. It looks like we have a few bored people on the internet. We have quite a few educators here, which is exciting, quite a few library staff members, quite a few researchers. And some said more than one of these. I'm a librarian, but also a science student. Great. You can pick the category that resonates the most with you of all of these categories. Okay. And we have someone here from Bogota, the home of Conario. Awesome. I love it. All right. I'm going to give you all a few more seconds to vote in the poll. So get those votes in. 3, 2, 1, and we'll end the poll. I'll share the results. So as you can see, the educators are coming in strong here. They're leading, closely followed by the library staff members, closely followed by the researchers, and quite a few aspiring citizen scientists as well. So we'll stop sharing the results there. Now we want to know, how did you hear of this event? And please pick the option which was the first way you found out about it. This is really helpful for us because it helps us keep track of who we're reaching, who is what avenues are really working well for us to spread the word about this important work. Oh, and let me go to my next slide for that. So how did you hear about it? Did you get an email from SciStarter? Did you get an email from all of us at USC? Are all of us Cedars-Sinai? Did you find out on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter? How did you find out about this event? Oh my gosh. So it looks like about 60% of you found out from SciStarter. Get those votes in. We'll give you a few more seconds to vote. A lot of you found out from all of us, which is great. That's really great to know. Quite a few of you found out from Twitter. Someone said, I found out from all of us UCSF. Very cool. All right, get those votes in. Just pick the one that was the first way you found out about it. And if you didn't find out about it from any of these methods, I'd be interested to know in the chat how you did find out about it. All right, and we're going to end the poll here. So end poll and share results. Good stuff. So as you can see, the majority of you found out from SciStarter. Quite a few of you found out from all of us. We also got a little bit of social media engagement as well. So we also have a survey that'll be available at the end after you learn all of this great stuff about air quality and citizen science. So if you have suggestions about how we can spread the word better, we are all ears. So I'll just go ahead and close out our polls. So citizen science. A lot of you haven't done citizen science before, and quite frankly, I find that really exciting. The way we define citizen science at SciStarter is a collaboration between scientists and researchers, and those of us who are curious, concerned, and motivated to make a difference. So, citizen science is basically any way you can volunteer to move science forward. It could be collecting data and submitting that data to an ongoing research project to help them understand seasonal change or to help them understand health research. Citizen science could be you actually conducting the analysis. For example, with the Stall Catchers Project, which you can find on scistarter.org/NLM, you're able to play a video game, an online game, to help them analyze Alzheimer's research data. You're literally conducting that analysis by playing the game. And the list goes on and on. Citizen science is as diverse as science itself. It spans every scientific discipline. And you can discover all of these projects, are a good amount of these projects, on scistarter.org. SciStarter's core mission is to be that connector. We want to connect you to real science that needs your help, to science projects that couldn't get these important insights about the world without you and your passion and volunteering your time. And there are thousands of projects, events, and tools listed on SciStarter, but we recognize that can be a little overwhelming sometimes. So at this point in the presentation, I always ask for folks to go to scistarter.org/NLM. I'll also put that link in the chat so you all can find it. But if you go there, you can make your SciStarter account. You can watch recordings of events like this one. In fact, this event recording will be available on the page afterward. And you can discover some featured projects that we've picked out for you to get started. These projects are a great fit for you to do from home, for you to do at your local library, for you to do with your local community group, and just basically for you to dig into important research about the environment and human health that allows you to turn your own curiosity about the world into impact. So please go to scistarter.org/NLM. I put that link in the chat. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you type that link in too. And go ahead, make your SciStarter account and get started with citizen science. Also on this page is an introduction to citizen science tutorial. It's offered in both English and in Spanish, and it was written at a 5th grade level, so it could be accessible to all different reading levels. So that's the great thing about this tutorial. Even if you're a citizen science expert or you've never heard about citizen science before, you should be able to get something from it and learn something new. It's interactive, so there are quizzes, there are videos, and you get a certificate at the end. So I really recommend doing this tutorial. Now, I'm so excited for this part of the presentation, but we have a special guest from the Canario project, Daniel Bernal. He's going to talk about how you can build your own air quality sensor and how you can get started with citizen science by participating in Canario. So Daniel, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you to everyone for the invitation. My name is Daniel Bernal. I'm from Canario. Canario is a citizen science project with mobile and fixed sensors for measuring air quality, especially the particle material 2.5, using low-cost sensor and smartphones. Caroline, please give me the control for the presentation, please. Yeah, sure. The next slide is shows what are the main characteristics of Canario. Canario is an open source project. What is the meaning of open source? That you could have the source code published in GitHub. For example, if you like to modify or increase the characteristics or new sensors, you can use our code with freely. It's a Creative Commons license for the two developments that we have, that are the firmware, that is the software that is in the electronics, and the app that is in the cell phones. In this case is Android, because Android is open source too. The next characteristic is open data. That means that the data is available anytime. If you like, I don't know, maybe you are interested in the air quality of Bogota or any citizen in the world that have canarios, you have navigate for this web page that calls Canario Influx DB Canario, and you saw all the stations that we have in the world, and in any time you can download the data for your interest, and there is no limit at all for that. The next characteristic is that we have the construction guides public in GitHub, Canario, SciStarter, Hackster, and it's very easy for the construction of a Canario, for the build of a Canario, and the parts of the sensor are generic. That means that can be found in any country in the world. For example, you can buy at AliExpress, Amazon, eBay, and local stores because the parts are very popular. And the last, the Canary is customizable because you can add new or different sensors. For example, we measure particle material, but you can add, for example, ozone sensors, CO2, and another thing interesting is that you can customize your box where the sensor is. For example, recycled bottles we can use, and you can make your own version of Canario without any limits. Next, please. Yeah, the first version, but we have three versions, but the first version of Canario have to use a soldering iron and make solders thing in electronics. This is a complicated process. We have many problems. Next slide, please. And why we have these problems? Because we think this is like a mini explanation. At the left side of the screen, we have the expectations that are perfect soldering iron use, and you can solve all the things perfect. But the reality is that the majority of the people don't have any experience in soldering, and the result was very bad. The problem is that, for example, you can see born targets that can be damaged the board, and the result is that this example of Canario don't work, that is in the right, and we have many cases like this, and we decide to make an evolution of Canario. Next slide, please. That is that you don't have to use the soldering iron. This is a new version. Use a board that is called Node MCU base, and the advantage of this board is that you can put the microcontroller without any solder in the board, and the parts that you saw in the slide are the only parts that you can use. And I explain, next slide, please. And Caroline, I need to control the presentation because I show the guide and some
We're losing you a bit, Daniel. But I sent you the remote control link, and everyone, this is very exciting for me because I can give proof to what Daniel just said because I ordered all these low cost parts to make my own. So I'm currently waiting on all these parts to come to me, but it's very easy and user friendly. You just go to scistarter.org/NLM. you're able to access instructions in English or in Spanish about how to build this tool. And you're able to go to these different links that are all on that scistarter.org NLM subpage to get the resource list to order these materials to build your own sensor. And I actually picked the hard one, the soldering iron one. And if you all don't know what a soldering iron is, it's basically a tool that allows you to put together these different parts. I picked the hard one, and we'll see how it goes. If you all follow me on Twitter or you follow SciStarter on Twitter, I'll kind of live tweet my building experience. And I've been taking notes during this presentation to get ready to build my own sensor. So I recommend you all do that as well.
Caroline,
Yeah.
Caroline, Zoom says to me you cannot start share.
All right, I'll stop sharing now. So I'll
Thank you.
now you can start sharing and take us through the guide.
Sure.
Let me know when you're ready to go back to the slides.
You saw my screen? Did you saw my screen?
Yep, we can see it.
Yeah. And that is one example of our guide. We have a guide in SciStarter and NLM. And this is the guide. One of our guides, the most actualized is this in Hackster. And the procedure is very simple. You can at the start, well, the presentation, some of the photos, and this is, for example, the parts of the project. We have the advantage that we can use many sensors that are popular in the world. For example, this model is Sensirion SPS30, and if you click in the guide, you go to the store that sells the sensor. For example, this, but we have another option that is a Panasonic sensor. The same procedure. You click and you saw the web page. And the last is the cheaper sensor that we have that is built in China. It's a very good sensor and costs $18. The other part is the same. If you click, you can view the part that you could buy. But like I said at the beginning, this part is popular, for example, in United States, in Amazon, in eBay, and many local stores. But we send to AliExpress because AliExpress is a global store. This is the parts. The parts in dollars maybe cost $45-50. And well, this is the materials. The sensor is the one number. The screen, for example, the humidity and temperature sensor, the board that we use, and the microcontroller. And well, this is called jumper cables and cutters. And when you saw the guide, every part is explained, and the video that I will share to you shows how to build the Canario. And we start Canario node NCU. This part is the process that put the microcontroller in the board. It's very simple. Next, we can put the sensor, and we can put an adapter for the sensor, but it's very easy with the cable, a cable adapter for the sensor. And we can put the cable wires easily in the board. For example, at this time we put the VCC cable, and the ground is very easy. Next, we put the LCD, the screen, the same procedure that is explained in the guide. And this is the humidity and temperature sensor that is optional, and you can put at the same way that the other parts of the sensor.
Daniel, all this is fascinating. So my advice for everyone and kind of what I'll be doing when I build my Conario is I'll go to scistarter.org/NLM and be able to get these materials lists, find these different videos and how to hook the wires up. But really quick question, Daniel. So once you build the sensor, how does it work? Like, how is a sensor able to take in data from the outside world and translate that into numbers that go to the Conario project?
Yeah. The last step is turn on the Canario, but with like the answer that you say, the real part of the sensor of the Canario models of sensor. These have an inlet door, an outdoor door, that the air comes into these holes of the sensor, and there is a laser inside that measures the quantity of particles that pass of this sensor. And the sensor has an average and mathematical procedure that calculates the particulate material of the air. And the particulate material is an contaminant of the air, the main contaminant, and the most directly with the health of the people. This is the reason that the particle material PM2.5 is the main contaminant measured in the world. And for the end, you can build the sensor. Here are some diagrams that explain a little bit deep what is the connections, and every sensor is explained, and this is the result of the sensor is that board that have a screen, the microcontroller, the cable wires, and the board. And this is for the other side. The sensor is in this of the sensor, because you have to program the firmware in the microcontroller, and this is the final step, and the sensor that you saw in the screen is the result. This is an emoticon that shows that the air quality is good, and this is the a new ideas for the Canario box. For example, you can use an
And Daniel, we're losing you a little bit in internet, but to really quickly summarize for everyone what we've heard Daniel say so far, it sounds like basically what we're measuring with this sensor is particulate matter. And so I didn't know what particulate matter was for a long time either, but basically it means little particles in the air that you breathe in. So what you're building here is able to measure particulate matter. And I know most of you aren't engineers. I know I studied, history in college. I definitely am not. I am a citizen scientist just like you. And if you're intimidated by all of this, just know you can follow it step by step. If you need help, you can email me at SciStarter. And you just keep following the steps until you get to the smiley face that Daniel showed you on the screen. And it looks like, so Daniel, if I'm following you correctly, after they've built their sensors, they've hooked up all those little parts, they got all the wires together, they followed the step-by-step instructions, did the programming, and don't be intimidated. You can do this even if you're a citizen scientist, if you've never built anything before, if you follow the steps, you can do it. then they have to build a box, right? And you recommended using using a bottle or making your own box out of wood. Is that right?
Yeah, because the electronics are exposed, and it's better that you have put in a box, like for example the plastic recycled bottle, and for example an acrylic box or a wood box, like another versions of Canario. And the end is the explanation of the using of the app, that in these graphs you can show the particle material, the hour, for example.
And Daniel, we're losing you a little bit, so you might want to turn off your video and maybe stop sharing your screen and
Yeah,
just
sure.
describe to us the app. I'll go back to the PowerPoint slides.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Stop share.
And we'll go back to where we were in the slides. So the app at the moment, it's only available for
Maybe
Android.
it's a problem with my internet.
Oh, it's all good. It
Yeah,
happens to
yeah,
the
sure.
best of
Only
us.
for Android.
Yeah, only for Androids. So if I didn't have an Android and I built a Conario sensor, would I be able to submit my data to you all via email or online?
Well, you can have two options. The first option is the mobile records. For example, you put a Canario in your bike or in your car, and you have to connect to a cell phone by Bluetooth, and you must have an app. In our case, only the development for Android, because we are developing the iPhone, the iOS, the iOS app, but it's very very expensive. But this is but you can make your measures by a fixed station. What is a fixed station? It's a sensor that is in our home, or in a part of our house that never moves. You can put the data in our web page, and you can show in a map. The map and our web page show the particle material measurements, the humidity and temperature. And this is option when you, for example, the biggest network in the world of low cost sensor are Purple. Purple have, I don't know, maybe 1,000 of sensor in United States, and you can show in a map. Canario make the same thing, but the advantage of Canario is that it's open, and the hardware is very popular, and you can do by your own. But you have these two options: mobile and static measurements.
That's great to know. Thank you so much for that, Daniel. So to kind of summarize what we heard today before we go into the Q&A section, you can build your own air quality sensor no matter your level of education or experience just by following the instructions on scistarter.org/NLM, and by following the materials list and all the videos that Conario have made available to you. And this sensor measures particulate matter. And if you have an Android device, you can submit your data that you collect with the sensor to the Conario project. Is that right?
Yeah, sure. That's right.
Great. So I think that kind of summarizes what we learned today. Thank you so much to the Conario team. Now we're getting into the official Q&A section. I've seen a bunch of people pile their questions in the chat, but I'll let Nancy Shen from NNLM, the Network of the National Library of Medicine, and all of us Californians facilitate this part. So Nancy, would you like to get Q&A started?
Sure, thanks Caroline. Welcome to our Q&A period. As Caroline introduced me, I'm Nancy Shen, and I'll be facilitating the Q&A period. Throughout the session, I've been collecting your questions in the chat box. So let's have a look at these questions now. The first question asks, which Daniel answered, is it only on Android devices? And it's yes. And if it's only on Android, what entry device will work attached to the device and to our Wi-Fi? Will it work with Amazon Fire device? That's the first question.
Yeah, like I said before, yeah, there is only Android. I know that in United States, for example, the number of iPhones is, I don't know, maybe 90%. In the rest of the world is only the 10%. But the advantage of the of Canario is that you can put in a static mode, like the map with the sensor, and this information is shared via an database called InfluxDB that is open source, and at any time you can visit our webpage, and you can saw all the sensors in our network. For example, and it's a great news for us. The last week, one person in Concord, California, in United States, for example, make a Canario by his own way. For example, never of the Canario team knows that this person make the sensor, and we receive an email that says, "Hi, I make a sensor, a Canario sensor. I'm from Concord, United States, but I can see my sensor in your map." This is a surprise for us, and we put the sensor in our map, and at this time we have three sensors in United States, one in Houston, Texas, Concord, California, and Berkeley, United States, and this is an option for everyone.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. The next question asks, how long do these sensors work? For example, if I had one class build them, would we be able to reuse them the following year? And if so, how many years do you think they would last?
Well, the life expectancy of the sensor, the air quality sensors, is about 10 years by datasheet, by the fabricant characteristics. I see that in our case, for example, the sensors in Bogota, there are many sensors that works about 2 years and don't have any problems. But the data of the sensor depends many much of the the Wi-Fi that we have. For example, if you put the sensor very far away from the Wi-Fi, maybe sometimes send data, maybe sometimes don't, and this is one of the main of the important things that we can demand for the people that install many sensors.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Daniel. And the next question asks, given the do-it-yourself nature of these sensors, is there a way to calibrate your individual sensor so that my results are directly comparable to someone else's homemade sensor?
Well, this is one of the greatest challenges that we have in the world of low-cost sensor. For example, you can you can have 10 canarios with 10 sensors of the same of the same model, for example, Sensirion, and probably the 10 sensors measure always looks like the same, or maybe varies any one to other. But the future of this kind of technology is that you can calibrate your sense with, I don't know, maybe a person that have more precision that this low cost sensor. For example, a sensor that costs $10,000 maybe you can in the future calibrate this kind of sensor, but at this time we don't have any calibration. The sensor comes with a factory calibration, and we use this calibration because we don't have this kind of high cost sensors that can be is possible.
Okay, perfect. And the next question asks, how does publishing or sharing the citizen science information protects people's privacy regarding location and Wi-Fi, etc.? Does the app collect any data about devices or owners, etc.?
The information of this sensor is available in our web page. For example, the people that have his own sensor go to his web page and saw minute by minute the value of particle material in the screen. The next step is that you can download and process and make any analysis with information. And like I said at the beginning, this is an open data project, and the advantage is that you can sort all the stations in the world. For example, in Bogota, we have 25 at year stations, and you can so one by one and download the data. There is no any restrictions, and the database is open. This is the advantage for this kind of project, that the hardware and the data is open.
And it looks like we have time for one more question. So this question, it might be kind of a silly one, but for those of us who are new to this whole world of air quality and citizen science, why is it important to monitor air quality? That's the first part of the question. So why is it important? And then how have you seen it done? What are some success stories, either from Colombia or other places where you've seen people really use Conario in a meaningful way? So two-part question, why do it and how has it been done?
Yeah, it's very important to measure air quality because, I don't know, maybe the last 10 or 20 years, the scientists shows how to the connection between air quality and healthy. Uh, uh, Before this time, maybe, I don't know, maybe 30 years, the air quality is a second topic. No one take care of the air quality, but the reason is very simple. The main food, if our food comes to the mouth and we only maybe, I don't know, 3 times a day have bigger foods enter at your mouth, how many times the air is in our nose and enter in our body? This is the main challenge of the air quality, because we never saw the air like a food, uh, like an important topic of our environment. And in the case of the cities, is very important because the majority of environmental deaths are related with air quality, with bad air quality. And the second question is case of success. Well, for example, Canario in Latin America, I think that is successful because, for example, in Lima, Peru, another capital of Latin America, we have excuse me, they have many sensors. They have at this time 10 sensors, 10 Canario sensors, 5 at this city, because in Peru they have they have problems similar to Bogota, because we have I don't know, maybe 5 five sensors that are provided by the government, but five sensors for a big city like Lima, a city that have 10 millions of inhabitants. Five sensor is nothing. And the challenge for Lima and those people that build Canarios is that they put in his home in many places and start to measure in places that don't have any data. This is an example. Or other example is in Quito, Ecuador, with the same. In Latin America, the problems are always the same. Poor low quantity of sensors for big cities, bad data, and the sensor, for example, and popular cost in United States $250. For an American, $250 is not much money. Like if you have to import the sensor and buy in Latin America is very expensive. And this kind of open projects, open sensors are an opportunity to have the lowest cost sensor. And this is the reason, but because Canario is popular in some places in Latin America, and in North America we have the opportunity because in North America, especially for example in California, fires and this situation, the air quality problems explode. Like in South America, when the Amazon burns the last year, is the same situation. And this is an opportunity and successful cases for our initiative, Canary.
Great. Thank you, Daniel. And thank you to Nancy for facilitating the Q&A period. If you didn't get your question answered at this part in the presentation, you can ask it again at the end of the leadership breakout group. We have some time for questions there too. Now we're going to be moving on to the All of Us California part of the presentation before we get to the Canario leadership breakout group. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and pass the mic to my friends at All of Us California so you all can learn about one of our supporters for this program and how you can get involved in an exciting precision medicine study.
Thanks, Caroline. I hope everybody can hear me well. Hey, everybody. My name is Sama Yunus, and I'm the engagement lead here at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center for the All of Us Research Program. And we really just want to say thank you to the National Libraries of Medicine for having us here today, putting such a great event together. Daniel, that is super interesting, and I think I'm going to go ahead and order mine. I'm going to get to it, Caroline. So let me get started about the All of Us Research Program. It is a national effort to engage 1 million or more participants. And the reason is we want you to donate. We're going to have genetic data, environmental, health, and background information. And our ambition behind engaging 1 million or more participants is because we want to reflect the rich diversity within our country in medicine and health research. People from all walks of life will be able to share their health information, and this data will help fill in gaps in knowledge about why people get sick or stay healthy. Can I get the next slide? Actually, can I get the one after that? Okay. So let me see. I'm sorry, I'm having a little issues on my end. So here in California, as you can see, we are the California Precision Medicine Consortium, and there are about 7 locations just in California. And if you'd like more information on a specific site, we'd love for you to go to allofusca.org. Next slide. So as I mentioned, this is a national effort, and we do have about 400 partners across the United States. So anywhere in the US, you can find a location near you to be able to join our program. Next slide. So the All of Us research program is a precision medicine study, and this form of medicine takes into account each individual's lifestyle, socioeconomic status, environment, and biology. It's a new approach to improving health, treating disease, and finding cures. And it acknowledges that each person is unique and that interaction of these factors greatly impacts our health. We're all different and our healthcare should reflect that. Next slide. So just really quickly, I love this slide because it does show that the diversity in this program will help produce meaningful health outcomes for all of us, literally. So next slide. So participation, what is that? So with the program itself, it's longitudinal study. We are expected to last 10 years or more. That is the goal. Participants will be able to contribute data regularly. Anyone over the age of 18 can participate in the program as long as you can consent for yourself. At this time, we've gotten a lot of questions about children being able to participate, and that will be something that's coming in the future. So stay tuned. If you join, you'll have more information, and hopefully you'll be able to we'll be able to share this with you at a later time. And let's go to the next slide. So we are a community-centered research program. Our name, the All of Us Research Program, does reflect the importance we place in our community. We want to ensure that our program is available and accessible to everybody. Remember, the future of health does begin with you. Many of our communities of color were excluded or inappropriately included in health research in the past, and for this reason, we don't know much about them. The All of Us research program has learned from its history. We want to be sure we do things right, and so many different kinds of people can join our program. Next slide. So this right here, these are 4 examples and forms of how precision medicine is currently being used. So rather than a one-size-fits-all model or approach, precision medicine aims to deliver the right treatment for the right person. So ultimately, it can produce accurate diagnoses, earlier detection, and better prevention strategies and treatment choices. Precision medicine is a radical shift in how each of us can receive the best care possible based on our unique makeup. So let's go to the next slide. So why now? Well, we have the technology. Everybody is super engaged on their phones and keeping track of their health. You know, we have the Fitbits, all these different apps to help keep us keep track. And we also have a greater understanding of our genes. So it's a great time to have a program like this in place.
We're losing you a little bit with the sound, so.
I apologize. Next slide. I'm leaning into the mic. I apologize.
No worries. Thanks so much.
So you are a participant. Truly, you are not considered a patient or a subject. You are a partner in this, and we will have you involved in every step of the way. We will keep you abreast of all the different updates and things that are coming out of the program, which is why we want to keep you engaged for the extent of the life of this research program. Can we have you go to the next slide? So our promise to the participants is that you will have an opportunity to fight disease, learn more about your health, and have access to your own data. As participants, you will have an opportunity to learn about other research programs. The cool thing is you have your own portal, you're logged in, you're getting information back, and it could be of interest to you, and you can also meet others like you. The program, like I said, it refers to our participants as partners, and we consider you an essential part of our effort. And with this and all these promises, we want to invite you to participate. I'm going to go into a couple of the questions on this next slide that the program will help answer. because it is a database where we are gathering information. It's not geared to just one particular study. Researchers will be able to come and do a variety of studies with the goal of precision medicine, and it can help answer questions such as how do we prevent chronic pain or slow and stop dementia, develop medications or cures or prevention methods, treatment plans, and again, get out of that one size fits all model approach with medications. So how do we do that? Let's go to the next slide. Oh, you're there already. Thanks, Caroline. So what does that mean? What does that entail? We would love for you to create an account on the joinallofus.org site. And the beauty of this is that right now we have it in both English and Spanish fully. And we have more languages to come in the future. But right now you can participate if you speak either one of those languages. Next slide. So sadly, right now, due to the impact of COVID-19, we can't be out in the community, but you can get started by completing, there are 3 consents and surveys you can get started with, and you can get that done so that when we open our clinics back up, we can invite you to come in to do blood and urine collections and physical measurements so that you can be a full participant in our program. But this is a great way to get started. If you can go to the next slide. And our final slide. We want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in today. And as a reminder, we do have a Spanish event after this event, and our program materials, again, English and Spanish. Feel free to share our website if you'd like. This is a good time. I know not all of us will have pen and paper nearby, so maybe you could take a picture of the slide with our links on it. And thank you for listening, and to our partners, thank you for putting this together again. We really do appreciate you. And now we'll hand this back to Caroline.
Yeah, thanks so much. And so just to review what you all learned today, Conario is a way for you to build your own air quality sensor to monitor particulate matter, to understand what's impacting us with the air through data, through building a sensor, and then submitting that data through an Android app. Also, so Conario is international. You can do it anywhere on Earth. And then All of Us is a project that's in the United States for people over the age of 18. And you can participate in that project if you want to be part of precision medicine and answering those questions that were outlined to you today by All of Us California. So in summary, you can go to the scistarter.org/NLM link to find out more about Conario. And you can also learn more about All of Us on the NLM page and through the links you received in the chat today. So I really hope you all enjoyed learning. If you want to stick around, we're going to have a leadership breakout group. But otherwise, I'm going to put this link in the chat for a survey. We're always looking to learn and improve. Oh, Robin beat me to it. Robin is on. I love it. Quick on the draw. But yeah, if you want to fill out the survey, it helps us understand how we're reaching people, how we're impacting people, and what we can do better. So please fill that out. Otherwise, I hope you stick around for our leadership breakout group. The purpose of this breakout group is for library staff, community-based organization leaders, and basically anyone who's interested in facilitating citizen science and Conario specifically, and All of Us specifically in groups, get the tools that you need to do so, the conceptual innovations. So my friend Emily from NNLM PNR put together this slide to talk to you about facilitating public programs in libraries and community-based organizations, also known as CBOs. These are kind of evergreen tips that you could use for in-person events as well as in our new virtual world. So Emily, take it away.
Thank you, Caroline. So there are many, many things to consider when you're planning or facilitating a public program. And I have a few tips on this slide. This isn't everything you need to consider, but you can think of these as some starting points. So first, think about the audience. Who's going to come to your program? When you're planning, you might consider partnering with local organizations or schools, libraries, senior centers. Partnering can help you increase community buy-in and attendance, and depending on your partner, it might help you share some of the costs and the planning of the program as well. Next, think about technology. especially with citizen science projects, and think about what technology is required to participate in the citizen science project. Do participants need internet access, mobile devices, or other technology? And does your audience have access to that technology? If you're not sure whether or not your audience is going to have access, do you have the capacity to provide access during your program? Funding is always a challenge. I would encourage you to look to the network of the National Library of Medicine for possible grant opportunities for health programming in libraries and community organizations. Think about the time and the location of your event. What time of day are you going to host your event? Is your audience available during that time of the day? Is it going to be a one-time event or ongoing programming? Is it going to be in person or is it going to be a virtual program? Also think about marketing. When you're planning the event, how are you planning to get the word out to your audience? I recommend downloading SciStarter's Librarian's Guide to Citizen Science. This provides lots of information about getting started with citizen science programming in libraries and community organizations as well. So now that you've planned the event, during the event, talk to the people who are there. Who's there and how do they hear about the event? Pay attention closely to what questions attendees are asking during the event. So if you're planning an event about Conario, are people interested in the air quality in their community, or are they interested in getting more involved in citizen science? And how can the questions and the interests of the people attending inform your future programming? You might consider creating a handout like we did for this event that provides some more information about some more information on the topic of the event so that people leave the event with some ways to get more involved or to learn more. After the event, take some time to reflect on what was successful and what made it successful. And also think about what you might do differently next time around. If you're anything like me, I know it's helpful to write this down. When I'm planning an event, I often think in the moment what was successful or what I want to do differently, and then forget about it next time I plan the event. So it's helpful to go back and look at my notes to remember what I wanted to do again in the next event and what I wanted to do differently. All right, next slide. And Sama, I think it's back to you.
Hi again. So for us, with the All of Us research program, and what we've done is, or our plan of action to create partnerships is create a partnership with a person, a company, a lead. Let me move this around a little bit. We want to collaborate, we want to network, we meet one person and see where that takes us. We schedule meet and greets. Right now we're having to do that virtually. That's how we connected with Caroline and are able to do these great events with you all. But what we really do is we try to come up with different collaborative ideas or partnership, something that makes our partner or our newly entered collaborator comfortable with what they're doing. We want to test things as a pilot so that we can always change things. We don't set anything that is concrete. To ensure that the partnership is successful. We schedule regular touch bases on outcomes and feedback from either people that our collaborators have emailed or their staff that are helping us with the program or are joining the program. And then we also create quarterly touch base meetings. You can set them as regular or frequently as you want to discuss any future possible events and new opportunities. But we do find that even just touching base to see how somebody's doing, what are they up to, other ideas do come from that, where you can set up future events, talk to different people, network, and find out how you can get the word out for the All of Us research program. And a perfect example of that is we just recently worked with the Mexican American Opportunity Foundation, and that came from collaborating and networking with the National Alliance of Hispanic Health, and attending some meetings, other meetings, USC, who you will hear from later in this event, wanted to do something the same as I did. Then they connected us, and here we are putting these events together. But these were great virtual events that we're testing, and they have worked. I think that the last one we did, we had over 500 views. And so we're keeping those lines of communication open with them to see what other future possibilities come up with that, and ideas for, I guess, even for the state that we're in right now. So.
That's so exciting. And I can't wait to watch the case study for the Mexican American Opportunity Foundation. That's on my to-watch list.
Yeah, we think it's great. And see, you can give us feedback, and who knows who that would get us connected to, or who else could see it online that would then reach out to us. We have patients that reach out to us that say, hey, I work for this company. Would you do a presentation for us? And, things develop that way. So it's exciting.
Very cool. And actually, I think this is a good point to address it, because I want to make sure that we ask this question. And thank you so much to Emily for putting that case study in the chat. I have it bookmarked on my computer to watch. We had a question from one of our attendees. They wanted to know, let's see, about all of us. How do you ensure like the data integrity? Like, how do you make sure that people's information won't be used to deny them insurance or discriminate against them in other ways?
So there are many things that the program has implemented to ensure participants' confidentiality. As far as health insurance goes, they're not able to discriminate against you based on the information. If you opt to receive the information, we do have a lot of participants who are not opting. Part of what the give back is for this program is to receive DNA results, ancestry results, and that's an option. You can always say no, that you don't want to receive it. As far as life insurance, you would have to check your state's laws individually, but it's up to you to provide the information. We are not providing that information to any agencies. As a matter of fact, there are certificates of confidentiality that are given through the government that protect you from anybody trying to find out who you are as well. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, that was great. That was really informative. And thank you so much for giving us your tips about how you've been facilitating public programs. So I also wanted to ring in on this before I let Daniel talk about specific ways that leaders could empower others to do Conario. I wanted to give you all some perspective about online citizen science and groups. So in 2020 alone, we at SciStarter have done over 200 webinars, this one included. And one thing that I think has helped me is acknowledging that nothing is ever going to be perfect. And I mean, you all saw this with this presentation. There were times where I had to stop sharing for a sec to make sure the ASL interpreters could be switched. That means American Sign Language. I always like to say out my acronyms. There were moments where, you just want to make sure that you're communicative, you're working with your co-hosts, and you're really relying on your buddies. That's the main thing, partnerships. And you heard that on the last slides too, from All of Us California. Their events are thriving because they work together. They grow by connecting. And we're doing the same thing with our public events, with our partners at All of Us, NNLM, different citizen science projects like Conario and Cause for Cloud. But number one, acknowledge it's not going to be perfect, but you can still do your best, and you can try to prepare as much ahead of time to make sure it's a success. So in terms of location, having a quiet place that's free of distractions is great. Right now, I am in my bedroom. That's the quietest place I could find. And thanks to this Zoom background, you can't see my dirty laundry. So that's one thing you can try to prepare for in advance. Lighting is good. I really do well with natural light because of my glasses. If I had a ring light, you'd be able to see it. So just try to make sure you have some good lighting so folks can see you. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to be visible if you're going to be on camera. And it depends on the event, right? So some events you share your screen more, some events it may be more of your face. It just depends on what you're trying to accomplish there. Audio is key. We always do a sound test ahead of time. And you want to give your panelists for the event or your guests an escape route. So if their audio isn't working well, tell them you can switch to phone. You could perhaps call in from another location. Like, doing a sound check beforehand is super helpful. And of course, that internet's never going to be perfect. We're living in unprecedented times. The main thing is just working with your panelists and doing your best on the internet front. I have a booster at home, which is a great option if you have that available to you to boost your internet. If you are part of an institution, you could see if they can provide that support for you. Otherwise, just do your best with internet and always have that backup where people can call in via phone if their internet betrays them. That always happens. You just have to be prepared for it and make sure you have your backups in place. And production support is key. I don't know what I would do without my partners. For example, Robin, she's been here. She's from the SciStarter team. She helps put links in the chat. She monitors that YouTube live stream. So if anyone has any questions, she can answer them. You need your buddies for an event to thrive, to help you monitor the chat, monitor the Q&A, and stay engaging. And the webinar format is really helpful if you're doing an online presentation because you just have a little bit more control and more security. A Zoom meeting can be vulnerable to people hijacking the screen or potential bad actors, whereas a Zoom webinar, because the audio and the video are more controlled just to panelists, you're a little bit safer on that front. It just depends on what you're trying to accomplish with a given event. If you're meeting with this group that you meet with every week, then you might just want to do a Zoom meeting and they have a password. It just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And presentation material, I like doing the polls up front to learn a little bit about who I'm with so I can tailor things. For example, for this presentation, I knew because we did that poll that a lot of you hadn't done citizen science before. So that's why I tried to give a more expansive definition of citizen science than I would have if I had 100% yes, I've done citizen science a billion times answers. You want to know who you're talking to so you can engage with them in a meaningful way. And live demos, they can be challenging sometimes. They can take a lot of bandwidth, but I think it can definitely be worth it. For example, I really liked seeing Daniel's video of building that sensor. It gave me kind of a visual overview of what it will look like when I actually build it myself. So these are all just things that you should keep in mind as you're planning your event. So just know that there's no one size fits all. Everything's different. And if you need any help, we have office hours at SciStarter every Thursday. So we actually have them again tomorrow. And we have them at different times to try to accommodate people from different countries and time zones. We do these office hours to give people advice or just if you need someone to bounce ideas off of, I'm there every week so you can tell me all of your citizen science dreams and we can think about translating it into programming or whatever you need. These office hours are a resource for you to learn more. So I'm going to go ahead and put the link to sign up for those and to dial into those in the chat. So if you go to that page, that citizensciencemonth.org/mailing list, you'll be able to sign up for our facilitator updates. And at the bottom, underneath that form, that's the dial in for the office hours. For security purposes, I have a waiting room for those. So if someone is a bad actor or not engaging in good faith, I don't have to let them in. Or I could bounce them out of there if they try to Zoom bomb me. That's just one way you can take a step for security. But I hope that was helpful in learning about online programming and those best practices from all of us California and from NNLM, PNR. Now, Daniel's going to tell us about facilitating Conario and libraries and CBOs.
Thank you, Caroline. We're going to show what are the best practices for Canario in libraries and CBOs. And these are the main topics and best practices, engaging as a group versus engaging as an individual, and online versus in-person engagement. Next, please. Well, one of the greatest characteristics of Canario is that open source is open source, open data, and there is no commercial transaction between the parts. What is the goal of that? That if you have a commercial transaction, a commercial interesting, you have to sell a sensor, for example, for $250. The do-it-yourself technologies like Canario cost $40, $70, and is approach a big approach, for example, to vulnerable population, low income population, or for example, for give a canario for a child that I don't know, maybe he can be broke, the canario can be broke or can be damaged, is not a great amount of money. The second part is that the parts that are used to build a canario are available around the world because we don't use any closed information on any closed technology. And for example, in with the use of AliExpress, this platform, the electronics technology can be sent to all around the world. The next explanation is that we can make online installations of sensor orientation, and we have the possibility to make support online. In the pandemic, COVID-19, uh, we have to develop an online protocol for installation. For example, one person that make the sensor here in Bogota, we communicate by software like AnyDex or something like may control the computer of the other person and make the installation and are a very great advance. Because, for example, if you have a sensor in United States, in the United States, we can make this support for these installations. And the map that you saw at the right is the map of the sensors that we have at this time. And the example of Concord, California, that a person without any explanation, any support of us, make a sensor by his own, and only say, hi, my sensor is transmitting, please put me in the map. And this is one advantage of this kind of technology. Next, please. This is one of I think the more important things when you build a sensor. For example, the first photo is a workshop in a low income community in Bogota. And the beautiful part of the workshop is that this little boy with his grandfather and his brother built this canario this is the past year, but at this time it's very easy for a child to put the cables. At this time we give the parts pre-soldering. The child don't have to use the iron solder, but at this time the child can do the sensor by his own without any warnings. And this kind of activity have the possibility that the grandfather, the kid, and another person is in contact with the sensor. And when you build something, you have a great engagement with the air quality measurement. At the bottom is the schools activities that we made. We focus it on experience, on experiences that the child understand why is important the air quality in their lives. And the other is in hospitals, because with the COVID-19, the air quality is very important, because the bad air quality worse the 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 body that can be suffered the COVID, and it's important to 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 bring this information to the hospitals. Next, please. And this is one of the advantage, because when you have workshops, when the boy is building a canario, and you when you finish the workshop, you go to the outside, making measurement activities. The people shows what is the real importance of this kind of technology, because in the workshop we only put the parts and understand what is the air quality and how the sensor measures air quality. But at outside, for example, if the boy is measurement, and I don't know, maybe a car pass and increase the value, they understand, the boy understand what is how in the street or in his neighborhoods, the bad air quality works. Next, Caroline. And the last photos are for the mobile measurements, when you go outside at foot or in a bike or in a car. But when you make fixed stations, for example, at these photos, at the left is an elderly person that have a canario, is in a low income neighborhood of Bogota. But this person are very engaged, make the connections, put all his effort in the project, and the final result is a canario in his home. And this produce a person that is very connected with the project, because when you are part of the build, or when you are part of you saw in a screen the data, and you put, for example, I don't know, a cigarette near to the sensor, and you saw that the values increase, you have a retroalimentation for this. And on the left, on the right side, this is the same people that are involved in the installations, or put in his home. And this kind of interaction increase the interest on the project and in the measurements. Next, Caroline, please. And this is another important topic, because the pedagogical activities are very important. For example, at the left of the screen is a person that use maybe like the movies, when we saw a world destroyed and we had to put a mask all the time. This is pre-COVID. Now is a real, but when you put a mask with oxygen, that is a direct message for the people, and to increase their interest in this topic. And at the right, this is a school in a poor neighborhood of Bogota, where the students are very interested in the air quality topic. we give to them a canario, and if you saw, they put the canario in a cage. That is this is this box in the photo, because they say that that they protect the canario, and and they made many activities with the information that the canario give to the school, and they know that their neighborhoods are very polluted and have bad air quality. Next, Caroline.
Great. Thank
Yeah,
you so much for that.
the
It was really great to see those
thanks.
examples. We have time for one question, and whoever gets their question in the chat first wins. While you all try to get your question in and race each other, I just want to reiterate to you all that you can do Conario with your community. So let's say that you're a library staff member. You could have a public program online on Zoom, or maybe you live stream it to your library's Facebook page, where you build that sensor and answer questions from attendees while you're building it. Then you could deploy that sensor at your local library, and share with your community what the air quality measures are at the library, and you could post regularly on Facebook about it. That's just one way that you can be creative with this. Or maybe you do a program, and you use the tutorial that's on the scistarter.org/NLM page. So I'm putting that link back in the chat. Let's say that you do that tutorial as part of a public program for your community. Then you build a Conario. You do a workshop with your community and teach them how to build it. Now that you know how to build it from the instructions on the scistarter.org/NLM page. And I'm not seeing any questions come in on the chat. So someone said this would have been interesting/helpful during the wildfires over the summer. Well, unfortunately, wildfires are probably going to happen again. So build your Conario now so you're ready the next time your air quality maybe takes the turn for the worse. So let's see. Let's go with this one question. This was the last question that we had before we moved into our breakout. Someone asked, who is monitoring the open source and testing it for worms or other intrusive bad actors insertions? So in our last minute, Daniel, will you tell us who's monitoring the open source Conario materials?
Yeah, many many academics in Bogota are very interested in the Canario information, because at the beginning they are not very interested, because they think that the data are not accuracy and have many errors. But with the time, they saw that the data is very similar to the official networks, and they will to be involved more in the project, and they make, for example, analyze data analysis, and they search that there is a good quality information. Uh, and for example, the comment of Amy that says that in the wildfires is very important. The same is in Colombia and Latin America, because when the Amazon forest is suffering wildfires, the air quality of all the region, Colombia, Venezuela, Peru, Ecuador, Brazil, and Bolivia, are affected by these wildfires. And at this time, the information is very helpful. If you have, for example, in the case of California with the wildfires, the network of Purple are, I don't know, maybe 1,000 sensors, and give important information for the people and for the government too. And this is an opportunity to any projects like this, because with the open data, open hardware is more easy to approach, and the costs are lower.
Thank you for that, Daniel. And that concludes our questions for today. We have a Spanish language version of this event at 4 o'clock Eastern, so in about 28 minutes. Nancy, will you tell us how folks can get their MLA? And I just want to thank you all for being here. The conversation does not end today. You can always get in touch with SciStarter via email, and you can participate in the project through scistarter.org/NLM. I'm going to put the SciStarter email in the chat. And while I do that, Nancy, will you tell us how folks who are interested can get their MLACE credit?
Yeah, absolutely. Before I do, I just wanted to say a special thanks goes to our guest speaker, Daniel Brunel, for an excellent presentation. The next webinar in our Citizen Science and Libraries webinar series will be Help Develop RNA-Based Medicines on December 16th. The link to the webinar evaluation will be provided now in the chat box. So let me just do that now for you. For those that want MLACE, the evaluation will have an MLACE code for you to use to get your MLACE credit once you fill out the webinar evaluation. Any questions that you have about MLACE can be directed to me at nksheng1@uw.edu. Thanks again for your participation and for attending this awesome webinar.
Great. We're going to wrap it up here, and I'll see all of my fellow panelists over on the Spanish language panelist link. So see you all soon. Otherwise, and thank you again to everyone who attended. I'll keep this up for just a sec so you can go ahead and grab the MLACE link if you need it. And there's also an All of Us link in the chat too, and that's a great one. You all want to dig a little deeper into that. All right, going once to get that MLACE link, going twice. All right, last chance to click that link because I'm about to close down the webinar. I'll also email it out, so don't worry about missing it, but please click it now if you want MLACE credit. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we'll end the event.